Have you been performing so long you don't even know who you are anymore? You've held it together, adapted, survived, but somewhere along the way, you lost your sense of self. What if your healing doesn't come from trying harder, but from rekindling that fire that got snuffed out when the world told you to hide? This coaching program is designed to help you stop patching symptoms and start rebuilding identity. You'll reconnect to your voice, your values, and your real inner strength that's always been there. Now, I just want you to ask yourself, what would it feel like to wake up proud of who you are again? Let's find out together. Schedule your discovery call today at youradhdguy.com. Aren't you worth it?
But when you're the parent, right, and your child is in school and you know that they're struggling and whatever it may be, you need to advocate for them.
Hmm.
And if you feel that it's not going the way it should go, then keep going. Like look for the answers. Don't stop until you find the answers. That's one of the things
Yeah.
that I wish I would have done differently. Like I knew in my heart that my one son shouldn't have skipped a grade,
Yeah.
right? And I should have just been adamant, like that's not happening until I got to a place where I could find somebody to accommodate him the way he needed to be accommodated.
This is Don't Mind Me, I Just Have ADHD. But let's be real. ADHD doesn't just mean forgetfulness or fidgeting. It's meant being labeled, masking, performing just to survive in a system that wasn't designed with us in mind. The podcast isn't about fixing you. It's about unlearning the shame you were handed down. Here we talk about ADHD, trauma, addiction, depression, healing, identity, all the messy things that make us human in our life and work. And we do it with fierce kindness. I'm Ron Sowers, your ADHD guy. And if you've ever felt like you had to earn your worth, if you ever struggled to slow down, speak up, or show up without a mask, welcome. You're not too much. You were never broken. And now you're waking up. Let's remember who we are together. Hey, my good friends, welcome back to Don't Mind Me, I Just Have ADHD. Today's episode is a beautiful reminder that strength is quiet, purpose is loud, and sometimes our greatest clarity comes from our hardest seasons. I'm joined by the incredible Candice Snyder, a gratitude ambassador, mother of two sons with ADHD, podcast host, author, and walking proof that resilience and reinvention are always possible. We talk about everything from advocating in broken school systems to losing identity after an injury, to finding her voice through chronic pain, grief, and radical purpose. This one is about parenting, persistence, and the power of starting even when it feels too late. Stay with us because this conversation will leave you grounded, inspired, and maybe seeing your own story in a whole new light. And stay tuned to the end because I have a special gift just for you. Let's dive in.
Yeah, just like you.
Awesome. Well, welcome back. We have Candice Snyder with us. She's like one of my favorite people in the world. I was on her podcast recently, and my mom said it was like one of her favorite episodes. So she's this guest is really near and dear to my heart. Candice Snyder. So, tell me a little bit about like what's your experience with ADHD?
Well, first, thank you, Ron, for having me on your podcast. And you know, you're one of my pe favorite people as well.
Aw.
So it's an honor to be here. And thank your mom for me too. My experience was not really me personally, but I have two sons.
Hmm.
And growing up, you know, things were great as they went through elementary school. And then we hit middle school and high school, and things got a little wacky. And it was really hard to keep them motivated and interested in school. Neither one of them wanted to be there. Um, my older son actually skipped a grade
Mm.
um, against my wishes, right? I fought with his preschool, kindergarten, and three times I said, no, do not push him ahead. He's a boy, he's got a late birthday. His birthday's in December, and everybody says, don't push, the boys, they need the extra time maturity wise. I got tired of fighting with them.
Yeah.
So I was like, fine, you're with him all day long. Maybe you know better than I do, right? So we, kind of went to kindergarten before we were ready. And what I would have liked to have done is put him like in a repeat kindergarten when we switched schools. But again, the school said, no, he's ready for first grade and,
Mm.
convinced me that, that's where he needed to be. Otherwise, he was going to be bored. Well, every day I was getting the phone calls from the principal, like, he's disrupting class, he's
Yeah.
not paying attention. And, I think everybody just chalked it up to like he's young, he went ahead and didn't really look at like maybe the bigger picture here, right? But he was getting really good grades up until through eighth grade, right?
Yeah.
When we got to high school, things got really difficult and he couldn't pay attention and they tested him for ADD and ADHD. Now we're talking this was, like the early 2000s.
Hmm.
And so what it boiled down to was that, okay, he's kind of borderline. What we're going to do is give him extra time to focus when he has to take a test. But it didn't address any of the other issues that really come along with ADD and ADHD.
Yeah.
Um, and there were some other things going on, like depression. Um, Through eighth grade, he was super busy. He had sports, he had his bar mitzvah, he had all these things that he was involved in. And then those things kind of stopped. And the reason I feel they stopped is because, like 6 months after my brother died, and my brother died by suicide, I think it really, really affected my son, even though we were living 3,000 miles away from his uncle. And I feel like a lot of these things were kind of enmeshed, like maybe the ADHD, the depression, being in the wrong place at the wrong time and having a wrong group of friends, and all these things kind of exploded. Now, my younger son, he did great until high school, and the same thing. I could not get him to like sit down, do his homework. I
Yeah.
would be sitting right next to him, right? And I was like, just do your homework. I'll get done in 10 minutes, right? But you're making it worse than it has to be. And he wouldn't do it. And
Mm.
when he couldn't play soccer for one semester, that's when it starts to kick in that he better do something or his grades are going to really be bad and he might not graduate. So he turned that around, but he still had problems with um, focusing. But they still said, he doesn't have ADD or ADHD because he was tested as well.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like the story. And now they're adults. One is 34 and one is 30. And I see some things that are still there and like not addressed. My older son my 34-year-old, he was retested again. And I had to fill out a form
Mm.
about what I saw for his therapist. So I don't know. I don't know where we stand right now, but I do know that it's an issue.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And it doesn't have to be. And I'm sorry that you had to go through that with your brother. And thank you for being open,
Thank
and
you.
sharing that. It still must have an effect on you today. Um, and it's hard. It's hard to admit, for anybody that, like, I know from my story, it was like I really didn't, there was like a lot of denial, there was a lot of trying to fix it, there was a lot of, like, I'm one of those. And it's difficult, and you spent time battling the system that like, they shouldn't ever say, like, a mother knows best, like, about their kids. And I totally get it when you're fighting and you're continuing to fight. And it's after a little bit of time, and there just comes a point where it's becomes so frustrating and tiring that you just give up. And let the chips fall where they may. And you show an incredible amount of resilience, like, in your story and like what you've done. So what what brought you into, doing what you do? Like, you describe yourself as a gratitude ambassador.
Hmm.
Like,
So,
can you break that down for us? Like, what that means?
yeah, absolutely. It's my favorite thing. I'm all about the gratitude and giving back. So, um, I have a direct sales business, and one of the things I love about the company is that they have what's called a gratitude ambassador program, which
Mm,
means you apply, and if you're chosen, you help the company represent their give back efforts in the field. So back in 2020, when we were still dealing with lockdown, I filled
mm,
out this application, and this is kind of interesting. So I filled out this application to become a gratitude ambassador. As I'm filling out and answering all the questions, I realize, hey, this is stuff I've been doing my entire life, right? This is what my parents instilled in me. My parents were always giving back and taking
wow.
people in. It's funny story. One of my dear friends is coming to visit me this weekend, and she used to run away to my house all the time, right? She had problems at home, she'd run away to my house, and my parents would like welcome her with open arms. My parents did that with everybody. And so, I had been in brownies and Girl Scouts and Keats in high school. And then, when I was married and had my kids, we were always doing things like volunteering at the animal shelter or collecting toys for tots. One year we actually had the Marines come to the house for dinner when we were, had like this holiday party. So I didn't
Mm,
really realize it at the time until I filled out this whole application. But at the bottom of the application, the last question asked if I was a specific rank in the company. And while I hit that rank, I wasn't maintaining the rank. So in my mind, I was like, they're not going to choose me
yeah,
because I didn't hit this rank. So, but you know what? If I said to myself, if nothing else, I learned who I was by filling out this application and I sent it in anyway. And so here we are, September 2020, and I was actually sick, so I wasn't with anybody from my team. And I'm sitting at my desk, and right in the middle of my big screen TV here above my desk is my picture with the new class of gratitude ambassadors. I started to cry because I was just
wow.
so overjoyed and thrilled that I get to do this. And then fast forward, I had an amazing time that year. It's a 1 year commitment. But when my time was up, I really was sad and disappointed that I didn't get to be a part of that anymore. And
Yeah,
so I had a business slash life coach, and she said, you should have a podcast. So I had the three words, passion, purpose, and possibilities in my head, but I didn't know what to do with them. And when we were both listening to a speaker talk about podcasting. She was like private messaging me, going, "Are you writing this down? Are you taking notes? This is what you should be doing next." And, I think I may have shared with you before, technology is not my thing, right? So I was
Hmm.
like, in my mind, I'm like, I can't do this because I'm not good with technology. I spoke to the instructor. She said, if I can do it, you can do it, and nobody gets left behind, and you will have a podcast in 30 days. And that's what happened. And so I started the podcast in April 2022, and it's been going nonstop for the most part. So 3.5 years. And I talk to people about their stories of transformation and how they found their path to purpose and
Hmm.
what they see as possibilities for themselves. But also, we talk about the causes that people care about most, such as mental health and
Yeah.
anything surrounding mental health. And if somebody comes to me and they have a charity or an organization that they want to bring more awareness to, um, if it's in line with, the theme of the podcast, then I'm like, absolutely.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that, the gratitude ambassador, and that's a strength is like having gratitude and a lot of people are like it's it's overlooked. I know I've overlooked it a lot in my life, that the power of like just being grateful for what you have, just being grateful for the people that are in your life and taking the time to appreciate that, is, like especially with what you've gone through, I know that can be difficult. How do you like get get that strength or what helps you with that?
Sometimes I wonder myself, I, yeah, when I think back about a lot of the things that I've been through, I'm like, you are stronger than you think, right?
Yeah.
Having, lost my brother to suicide was a big one. And I got divorced, and that was another one, right? I've been
Sorry.
through two miscarriages between my two sons. I lost a lot of people. Recently, I lost my dog, my best friend.
Oh,
That really was my rock. And I just feel like there's still so much good in the world, and I still have so much good in my life. And that's where the gratitude piece comes in, is that you can go through all this adversity
yeah.
and still have gratitude. And all those things, as sad as hurtful as they may have been, has led me to something else that I should be doing or I should have or I should be.
Yeah.
So um, I think we all have it in us if we want to. We can wallow in everything. And I'm not saying, you know, you should have a pity party for yourself, for a while, right? Because these things happen and you shouldn't squash them. You should definitely feel them. But it's kind of
Yeah.
like I said this to somebody the other day. I was like, you have to feel the feels and keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You gotta let them flow because that if you push them down, like it's just gonna make things worse, and they're probably gonna end up coming out, anyways, in a way that you won't be able to manage or control them. At least when because you have to grieve. Like,
Yeah.
and again, like, you know, yeah, like I remember you telling me that when we first met, that you lost your dog. And, we all have like a special place for dogs, especially. Like, I know I'm a dog guy and, I personally love dogs, like, any type of dog because it's usually the dog is like a really smart creature. Like they know how to get in and get what they need, um, to survive and to be happy. And we can learn a lot from dogs.
Oh yes, most definitely. I even have my coffee mug with my Jack on
Aw. So
it.
how are you doing with that?
It's been 5 weeks
Yeah.
and I still sometimes forget like that he's not here because I'll be out somewhere and I'll be like, oh, I've been out for a while. I need to get home, take care of Jack. And then I'm like, oh, no, I don't because he's not here. Or
Yeah.
like in the morning when I'm like on 2 Fridays a month, I go to a networking group and I usually go downstairs and take care of him first before I get ready for my to go to this meeting. And I'm like, I don't have to do that. And it just feels odd because, I had him for 12 and a half years and I had him since he was 8 weeks old.
Wow.
And I've had dogs my whole life, and they were all special, but he was the extra special one,
Yeah.
So yeah, I miss him, but I didn't want him to suffer either. So, he had a good life.
Yeah, I'm sure he's still there with you in spirit.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah.
stay. We
I do
stay.
feel that. I dream about him, it's interesting because, you know, never really dreamt of my other dogs like the way I've been dreaming about him or like other people that passed in my life. Like
Wow.
they don't come to my dreams, so it's interesting. But I was told by somebody recently that he was still with me and that he had one paw still here because he wanted to make sure that I was okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
So what made him like so extra special?
Well, I was going through a really bad time when I got him, right?
Hmm.
So I was dating somebody and, after my divorce, and it was a pretty toxic relationship.
Hmm.
And I got this dog. It was supposed to be, I got Jack. It was supposed to be for us, right? But
Yeah.
we weren't getting along. And when I moved out, I took Jack with me. But
Yeah.
really, I say if I didn't have Jack, I don't think I would have gotten out of bed because I was in a pretty bad depression,
Yeah.
but I had to take care of him. I lived in an apartment and it was just me and him. And I was like, I have to walk you. I have to take you out. I have to take you to your puppy
Yeah.
training and I have to take you to the vet and all these things. And I really, I really feel like if it wasn't for him, I don't know. I don't know what would have happened. I wouldn't, I wouldn't have taken my life, but like I would have maybe not gotten out of bed for many, many days, and not done the things that you're supposed to do. A friend of mine had given me this plaque for my birthday one year, and it said, "When you rescue a dog, you rescue two souls."
Hmm.
And I really felt that because he was from a rescue, and he saved me.
That's so beautiful.
Thank you.
And amazing. So yeah, you've dealt with a lot of adversity and depression, and that can't be easy for anybody.
One thing I didn't really share, which is like really a big part of like how I ended up in direct sales and how I ended up with the podcast, is that I was a dental hygienist for 14 years and I
Yeah.
got injured on the job. And my identity was really connected to being a dental hygienist and taking care of other people. And when that injury, I fell off a broken dental chair in an
Wow.
office that didn't maintain their equipment. And it it was so bad that I had to give up my career as a dental hygienist. And for 10 years, like, yeah, I was wife and mother, but like I didn't really know who I was.
Hmm.
And it took me 10 years to figure that out.
Yeah, that's terrible. Like you feel like you found your life calling, you really enjoy it, and then you got the rug pulled out from literally underneath you, and that can be shattering. You know.
Well, um, I never loved being a hygienist. Like, oh, I love cleaning teeth and taking x-rays. And it wasn't about that. It was about helping people, right? So like,
Hmm.
on my podcast where we're talking about passion, like I wasn't passionate about, the actual being the hygienist. I was passionate about, my patients became my friends. And
Yeah.
that's what I lost, you know. Um, but yeah, that's another big thing that people don't realize is like job loss, uh, or career changes can really bring on depression. Um,
Yeah.
and that's not easy.
Yeah, definitely. Because it's like you lose this sense of purpose, and
Yeah.
it's a relationship as well. A
Hmm.
lot of people don't, like that's can be traumatic. So how did that process work out for you to get through that?
Oh, well, it got a little bit even crazier because I didn't even have like a full diagnosis yet,
Hmm.
right? And in the midst of that, um, we moved to California from New Jersey. So a 3,000-mile
Wow.
move away from family and friends so that my then husband could climb the corporate ladder. And here we had to start all over again. New schools, new home, meet new people, new doctors, the whole
Yeah.
nine yards. So that was another thing that was some more adversity, but got through. And in the end, it was like the best thing, for the family.
Hmm.
Um, but uh, I kind of spent most of my time then being like the stay-at-home mom and would volunteer in the classroom and then volunteered for what we had it was called the Little Red Schoolhouse. So
Hmm.
the kids would come on Tuesday during lunch. They would keep track of how many minutes they read or how many minutes their parents read to them, and they would use the minutes, however many minutes they had to collect toys and
Hmm.
treats, as like a
Yeah.
reward. And I was in charge of that. So again, the volunteering, definitely helped keep me going and have purpose and the gratitude and giving back. So it's always like been there. And I'm telling you, that's the part that helps the most. So if you're going through a challenge or some type of adversity, finding something to help somebody else is going to make a world of difference in how you feel.
Yeah, that's powerful, and it's interesting at the same time because it's like you don't think that, something like you don't feel like you can give to yourself, much less give to somebody else, and yet you were able to find that strength in that predicament.
You know what, too? I live with chronic pain. I've been
Yeah.
living with chronic pain since I had that injury. And when I tell you the year, you're going to be shaking your head. I got injured in 1997.
Wow.
So I've had two major back surgeries, right? Fusions. And like I'm fused from L3, L2 all the way to S1. So it's like mid back all the way down,
Yeah.
right? But I tell everybody because people who know me well know that I deal with chronic pain, and they're like, I don't know how you do it. And I'll tell them if I didn't have my volunteering and the podcast and my direct sales business and all these other things, friends and family, um, to keep my mind occupied, I probably would be depressed,
Yeah.
you know, because being in chronic pain, depression comes along with that. Nobody could tell you that you're not depressed if you have chronic pain, because I
Yeah.
feel like they go hand in hand.
No, I can imagine like if you consistently got to deal with pain throughout your whole day and there's no break, there's no end in sight, and this could be going on forever. Like I can imagine like that certain people might want to, contemplate ending it all, you know,
Yeah.
um, especially with the losses that you had and having to move and having to get through that, like having that strength of gratitude is instilled in you since from your parents. Like
Hmm.
it was an amazing foundation, so how did you really tap into that? Like other than um, getting involved with the direct sales and like if those things weren't there.
Let me tell you, I spent a long time on the couch. I
Yeah.
did. When before I had it, it took 6 years for them to give me like a full diagnosis. The Probably one of the best things that came out of moving to California was I got to see the chief spinal surgeon at UCLA who
Hmm.
ended up doing my surgery. But he was like, "You're so young." I think I was like 38, 39 at the time. And he's like, "I don't want to do this surgery and let it's only if it's a last resort." So we tried like a million different things. And then it came back to this is the only thing. And like you tell you, the day after my surgery, I was a
Yeah.
new person. The pain was gone,
Yeah.
like
That's
immediately
awesome.
gone, which was just mind blowing to me. But prior to having that surgery, literally my days would be get up, get the kids ready for school, take them to school, come home, lay on the couch.
Hmm.
Get up, go pick them up from school, take them to whatever after school activity they needed to be at, come home, come home, lay on the couch, go pick them up, lay on the couch. That's not a life. That's not living,
Yeah.
right? And that was prior to having that surgery. Once I had that first surgery, it was life changing.
Yeah, I'm glad that you were able to get that, and you were able to find the strength and perseverance to get through all those times. Like I'm sure, your kids really benefited from you being there as well,
Oh,
through all their struggles.
I have another story for you.
Yeah, I love stories.
Okay, be careful what you wish for is what I tell people, right? You can manifest the good, but you can also manifest the not so good. And I've probably manifested that injury because in my mind, I was always like, I want to be home with my kids. I don't want to be working. I feel like they need to have their mom around. I didn't think they needed me around so much when they were like infants, toddlers. I felt like they needed me around, as they were getting older, right? To have a parent present. And
Hmm.
I mean, I ended up getting injured when they were 6 and 2, but in my mind, as I said, I was thinking like, I just want to be home with them. I worked a lot. I worked 6 days a week. Then I made more money than my then husband. So, that loss of income was a problem, but
Yeah.
I had that injury, right? I
Yeah.
wanted to be home with my kids. I probably manifested getting injured. I'd always said I don't want anything like life ending, but I want to be home. And that's what happened.
Yeah, definitely.
So
So I'm sure
be
they were
careful.
probably like, oh man, mom, like she's just always there hovering, like um
Yeah.
and to a degree, like I know my mom, she meant well, and she tried to give me everything that I needed growing up, but like I'm a boy and like I need my space, and like having a dad that really didn't give me a lot of um the attention that I needed growing up, or at least the validation of like, hey, I'm proud of you, or you're doing a good job. I see your struggle or whatever. He just
Yeah.
wasn't capable of doing that. Was there that kind of dynamic as well for the boys growing up?
Yes, because their dad, um, you know, he had his own loss that he was dealing with and things that I don't think he ever processed. So he became a workaholic,
Yeah.
right? And so he was working all the time and my boys would say, all dad cares about is work.
Mm-hmm.
The only other thing, I mean, he did care about soccer and he had a love of soccer and he wanted to instill that in the boys. And both
Yeah.
boys did play soccer at club level. Um, but at the same time, there's like a lot of pressure to be good.
Yeah.
And that part was really hard. Like, he and I did not see eye to eye on what the priorities should be. Like, we had soccer teams before we had a house, you know,
Wow.
when
Yeah.
we moved to California. So their dad is much more present in their lives now
That's good.
because I kind of feel like, when we got divorced, he had to step it up. The kids were 21 and 17 when we got divorced.
Yeah.
So they were older, but they still needed, a father figure.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that's hard. It's hard for boys, they're being told, you and I've had some of this conversation where we're you're told, don't show your emotion, don't cry, don't do
Yeah.
this, don't do that, be strong, and I think that was part of what was instilled in them from their father. I was never about like, don't cry, don't show emotion, be strong. I was not that. I might not have been the best mom in other ways. I mean, maybe there was things I should have done differently,
Hmm.
but um, nobody's perfect. I'm always saying now, especially because like I just became a grandma. So I'm always like, I wish I would have known then what I know now because there's so much more information, especially on like mental wellness,
Yeah.
right? Like things that I might have said to them then, I wouldn't say now because I think it would have been hurtful, or put other ideas in their head, that they're not good enough when, I love them and I'm proud of them just the way they are.
Yeah, no, and and that comes from a lot of like our upbringing and how we were raised and it comes from a place of protection, and care because we don't want to see, people in our lives, doing things that could potentially hurt them. We
Yeah.
want, but a lot of times we just don't know how to express that in the right ways. Um,
Hmm.
and it usually comes out as like anger or disappointment. And yeah, I can imagine that was difficult. And I've noticed when I was growing up that my grandma and grandpa they were always like better equipped to like handle like the grandchildren. I don't know if it was like because they've had the experience and they're trying to make up for the mistakes that they made or whether that's just like, well, it's not my kid, so I don't have to be as like as strict with that.
I think that some of it has to do with patience. Like, I
Yeah.
think as we get older and we've been through the experiences of raising kids, we can have more patience, um, and experience, you know?
So other than patience, what would you suggest like for um moms and dads raising, children with ADHD?
Oh, that's a tough one, because it's not like a cookie cutter answer or anything like
Yeah,
that.
of course.
But I would say the main thing would be to advocate for your child.
Hmm.
Especially when it comes to like school and maybe if they're involved in sports. And you and I, when we talked, one of the things that really stuck out in my mind was like the conversation around, when you fill out an application or you send in your resume, you're not saying on there, oh, I have ADD or ADHD or OCD or any of these
Yeah.
other, mental health challenges or neurodiversity. But when you're the parent, right, and your child is in school and you know that they're struggling and whatever it may be, you need to advocate for them.
Hmm.
And if you feel that it's not going the way it should go, then keep going. Like look for the answers. Don't stop until you find the answers. That's one of the things
Yeah.
that I wish I would have done differently. Like I knew in my heart that my one son shouldn't have skipped a grade, right?
Yeah.
And I should have just been adamant, like that's not happening until I got to a place where I could find somebody to accommodate him the way he needed to be accommodated, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I would say. Make sure that you advocate for your child.
Yeah, it's powerful. Yeah, and And it's like in most people's heads, they'll be like, well, it's just a grade. It doesn't really matter. It's like their kids are resilient, but it's actually like it does take a toll. Like, especially when you're learning that early in life, the way you learn is is like pretty much kind of set in stone after like a certain point. So during those early childhood ages, like you're you're developing the way that you learn. So if there's something in there that's going to hold it back, that's going to continue to hold you back throughout your life until you address the issue, which may or may not happen, because like I learned that when I was like studying a little bit of child psychology. It's like, instead of giving, the child the answer, like you asking them, let them think about it, let them try to come up with that answer. Because when you just immediately give them the answer, when they're pausing to think, you're inserting yourself into that learning process. So they're going to need to like have the answer right away because that's part of their learning. But if you allowed them to think,
Mhm.
then all of a sudden there that changes the whole aspect of it. Yeah, if they don't get the answer, definitely tell them, but allow them the possibility to try to come up with the answer on their own,
Right.
because that'll help them further down the line.
This made me think of something, two things actually. Uh, it's hard because I know teachers like we're shorthanded. A lot of in a lot of school systems, they're not paid a lot. And, sometimes it's okay, we're going to put more students in your class
Yeah,
because, we're shorthanded. But I can tell you that you can't put each child in a box, that they're not all going to learn the same way. Some are going to be more visual. Some are going to be more, they need to, auditory. Um,
yeah,
and I think also, yes, you have to teach the standards, whatever it is your class is about. You have to teach what the curriculum says. But when you have a child that is showing interest in a different way, in a good way,
yeah,
I feel like you need to, help them along, let them develop that, let them be creative, and you're gonna just see that child take off. And that is
yeah,
something that I saw in school where, my son is an artist.
yeah.
He's a really good artist, but and he was in the advanced placement art class. And
Mhm.
he had ideas, and his teacher squashed every single one of them because she
Wow.
was all about the standards. She should have said, you need to do what I teach because that's the curriculum. But yes, do this too, instead of saying, no, don't do it, you
Yeah,
know?
like encouraging that creativity, because that's how like when you add that to problem solving and what you're trying to do, that creates something so much more dynamic. And like you said, teachers are so overwhelmed and underfunded, especially today. And now kids are expected to learn more quicker and to not be children,
Right.
not to enjoy that time in their life where they don't have to worry about responsibilities because they're never going to get that back. Like,
Hmm.
and it's like every kid's like, oh, I want to be responsible, right? And it's like you said, be careful what you wish for because like it's going to be the rest of your life. So, kind of switching gears here. You've interviewed so many incredible women. What's a conversation that really opened your heart and changed you in some way or really just stood out?
Oh, wow. I have talked to a lot of women. Um, One that stood out was a reinvention story, like so many times over. you know, and
Mhm.
this reinvention starting over because she got divorced. She had two young kids and she had to just leave because the relationship was so toxic and so abusive
Yeah.
that she she was like, I have to get out for my kids because this isn't healthy for them, even though it wasn't healthy for her either. And she built a whole new life, for herself, changed careers because it wasn't fulfilling for her. And also, she, like, this was a person who was in STEM,
Yeah.
uh, in that field. And then they were finance, and then they were
Wow.
in publishing, like until she found her passion, and her passion was helping other women, you know,
Yeah.
fill their passion and purpose. And yes, she's actually been a guest twice, and she's also the curator of the Passion, Purpose, and Possibilities um, anthology book.
That's awesome, and
Hmm.
I love to highlight women, because you guys don't get enough credit. It's life is so difficult for you guys, and honestly, without you, we wouldn't be here. Like, and we just kind of glazed that over, and and in a way, kind of depreciate, or like I'm not sure exactly, but like we kind of undermine the value that you have by saying, when a woman does like a normal thing that a man does, and just saying, "Oh, she did it," as if it's like because she's a woman, she's not she's not built like a man, so she's already behind the eight ball type thing. Like, and that is such a narrow-minded way of seeing women that should be just, viewed as partners, viewed as somebody that, we work together to create something better rather than like one is superior than the other. Because like, I often look at other cultures, back, like Indian, like the way that even our constitution or like yeah, our Constitution was founded was based upon the Indians. Like I believe it was the Sioux Indians. And in their um power dynamic, they had women and men. Some women were above men in leadership roles and like chieftain roles and priest roles and like, the fact that we left that dynamic out of our Constitution really is showing up in the way that things are manifesting, I believe.
Yeah, you see where, I mean, how many decades have women been fighting for equal rights and equal
Yeah,
pay? Like it's like an uphill battle. Yeah, we're better than we were decades ago in some ways, and in some ways not, but
yeah,
that's a whole nother conversation. Um, but yeah, it's something that, I mean, I feel we should, women, as a woman, like we shouldn't have to fight for. We should have what we want and we should be equal to men.
yeah, definitely. Or just have a place that's like here, or just not really have like no one superior or, like, because I've learned so much from the women in my life, and like I've always had that seeing. I just love strong women, and I'm always been attracted to that dynamic, that story, because to me, having to deal with so many emotions in this world and navigate it and still show up, is incredibly, like, that takes a lot of resilience, perseverance, and strength that people don't realize. What do you wish that, more people knew about like women, especially in that struggle?
that we are resilient, that we are strong, and that, we're capable of anything that we set our minds to. Nobody really can tell us we can't,
Yeah.
because we can.
No, I like that commercial, the preview for Landman season 2, and how she's like, yeah, the only difference between me and my husband is I'm meaner. Like,
Uh, I don't remember the preview for that, but I did watch season one and I am looking forward to season two because I thought that was a really great show. But yeah, there's some tough women, strong women in that show for sure.
yeah,
Also in
definitely.
the morning show is coming back
Hmm.
with Jennifer Aniston and Reese Witherspoon, and there are some strong women on that show as well.
Yeah, definitely. What advice would you give someone who wants to start a podcast but feels like their voice doesn't matter?
I would say first, what do you want to talk about? Like, or do you want it to be a solo show where you just talk about things that you care about and you want to express into the world? Or do you want to have guests and share ideas and have a specific topic? You have to decide that first. You don't have to know all the technical stuff because I'm living proof that you don't have to do that. But I think the first thing is like, what do you want to talk about and who do you want to talk about? And it doesn't have to be one or the other, solo versus guest. You could do both if you
Yeah.
wanted. I have two solo episodes that I did early on. Um, and then I would say all you really need is a computer or laptop and and some headphones or earbuds, something like that, and decide whether you're going to record or you want to go live. Now, for me, I do not go live. That's one of the things that still makes me nervous.
Yeah.
But I've been live on other people's shows before. Um, and then, it's not, I mean, I use an editor because I don't want to spend time doing the editing and technical stuff, but there's so many programs out there that do everything for you. I've talked to so many other hosts that do it themselves and they're like, "Oh yeah, I just use this program and it does everything for me. All I do is upload the video and put in a few keywords and that's it." And then you get it on
Okay.
all the platforms.
Do you know what kind of editing program that is, or
Oh, one is called Dissect, I think.
the script?
The script. That's it, the script. And then I just started doing video clips myself. Like I
Hmm.
haven't sent that to my editor and I use Opus Clips Pro. I think that's what it's called.
Yeah, Opus is a good one too.
Yeah. And yeah, but like my podcast for 3.5 years has been audio, comes out on audio, and we're just working on switching the video.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, video is good, especially for social media.
Yeah.
Putting out those clips, those little clips. You don't necessarily have to go on YouTube, I've found. Um, yeah, and one thing that really helped me in the beginning was, having like 20 topics, like, because, you want to be able to understand, like, hey, what am I going to talk about for the next 20 episodes?
Hmm.
And just having like that plan moving forward, so like even before you get involved with it, that you have something to talk about,
Yeah.
because most podcasts don't make it past, like, I would say 80 to 90% don't make it past episode 10.
Yes, I've heard that too. And I agree with you with the list of topics. And just as for instance, if I was to do this, which I'm not, um, so I have a direct sales business and I sell hair care, but I could think of 20 topics right off the top of my head that have to do with hair.
That's amazing.
So if you're happen to have a specific thing that you want to talk about, that's such a great idea to create a list, and then it makes your life so much easier.
Yeah. So what would you say to women who to a woman who feels like she's too late to pursue her purpose?
It's never too late. It is look at the past, right? Look at some of the women that didn't do anything till they were much older in life, like uh, Georgia O'Keeffe or Grandma Moses always comes to mind because my maiden name is Moses, and they
Yeah.
call my mom Grandma Moses. And it was
Nice.
recently Grandma Moses Day. So, like, there's never a time frame. Age is just a number. It's how you feel on the inside. And, I'm 61 and I have a lot of things that I still want to pursue. And
It's
I'm
amazing.
hoping I get to pursue all those until I'm 100.
I would have never guessed you're 61. You look great.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
You ages
Hmm.
very well.
Thank you.
Yeah, another one that comes to my mind is like Benjamin Franklin. He actually didn't. You look at his autobiography, and it's like this is how big it was, like how much stuff he did before he was
Hmm.
44, and
Hmm.
everything else past that is like he invented electricity, he started the postal service, like he did
Hmm.
a lot of amazing things after he was 44. So it's like if you feel like just look at all the examples that are out there.
Yeah, that definitely. So I heard and I follow this guy named David Guillaume. He teaches Kabbalah, right?
Hmm.
And Kabbalah is just the ancient wisdom. It's not religious at all. But he always says that if you have an idea of something that you want to pursue, like that idea was put in you to pursue. Like it just didn't come out of nowhere. And so if you have this thought that you want to do something, then you should be doing it.
Yeah, or at least try it out.
Yeah.
So if someone feels stuck between responsibility and possibility,
Mhm.
what's one small, courageous step they could take today?
Oh, well, I always believe I'm a strong believer that anything is possible,
Yeah,
right? So it's always about taking the first step. So just say for instance that you wanted to start a podcast, but you're scared nobody's going to listen to it. Just know that, the right person or people will hear your message and you
mm,
should take the first step. So, one, decide that you're going to do it. And two, what's the first thing you can do? Maybe make sure you have all the equipment and create that list of 20 topics.
yeah, definitely, and understand like it's not going to be like very few podcasts are hits right away. It usually takes. It's something that it's a love of labor, and like mine is still growing myself, like, but I understand the long goal of like, hey, I want to get my message out there. I want to be able to do the things um that I'm talking about in the way that I would love to talk about it with the guests that I have on there, and being okay with it like taking 100 episodes for you to actually get to that point where you're hitting your stride.
It's consistency,
Yeah,
right? And I have to say that I feel like the podcast community, like the group of podcasts, like we all support each other. There's no competition,
yeah,
right? We all have our own thing and we're not stepping on anybody's toes. If anything, like we're always referring people to each other, right? And
yeah,
being supportive by sharing each other's episodes. Um, so I mean, that's another great thing about podcasting. Like it's always like community. Like there's always things going on in LinkedIn of how you could, join with more. podcasters and more people that teach about podcasting. And there's so much free stuff out there.
Yeah, it's an amazing community, and like I said, like there can be like 100 different or more for just ADHD alone, like,
Hmm.
and all talking about it in different ways. It's
Absolutely.
amazing. So
Yeah. And you're doing great work.
thank you. So we're gonna do like a personal reflection and rapid fire questions. So you ready?
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
What's a quote or mantra that keeps you going when things get tough?
Okay. I have it on my wall here.
Oh, that's
When you
beautiful.
walk in purpose, you collide with destiny.
That's a good one. When you walk in
Hmm.
purpose, you collide with. I love that.
Hmm.
It's awesome.
I didn't make it up though.
Okay. Who
Yeah.
said that?
Oh, that's a good question. Actually, I had posted this at the beginning of the year because I always pick like a quote and a word of the year. And
Yeah.
somebody told me who now I can't remember who it was. I on my post I said who said it, and they said that's not who said it. So I'm not really sure.
Nice. So what's a moment you'll never forget? One that affirmed you're exactly where you need to be.
Uh, 2020, February of 2020, before we were like in lockdown. I was asked to share my story at my direct sales company was putting on a presentation at a local hotel here in New Jersey. And my upline asked me if I would share my story. And I've never liked public speaking, right? In
Yeah.
school, I'd be the one like slinking in my chair and never raise my hand and all that stuff. And I was like, but I said to myself, if I don't do this, I'm never going to get over my fear of like public speaking.
Yeah.
So I did it and I was like, who's going to connect me? Like, so this was what, 5 years ago? So I was 56, right? And the
Yeah.
room is like mostly 20 and 30 somethings. And I didn't write a speech. I didn't have notes or anything. I just spoke from the heart. And I had so many people come up to me afterwards and like was like telling me that they really connected to my story. And that was just the most amazing feeling. And I'll never
Wow.
forget that. Yeah.
That's amazing. That's powerful.
Yeah.
Like definitely. And for you to step up, because public speaking is not, it can be very intimidating, especially if
Yeah.
you're not like really good at speaking or you don't like being in front of crowds. I can, yeah, it's the reason why people get paid a lot for doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh gosh, I know people who get a lot of money. Um, But I do challenge myself, like somebody will ask me to do something that I've never done before so for an instance, somebody just asked me to be on a panel discussion.
Hmm.
And now in my mind, I'm thinking, oh my God, all these people have so much more experience in business and all these different topics. Like, what am I going to bring to the
Yeah,
table? But he was like, I just love your personality and the way you engage with people. And I would love for you to be on this panel and I would love you to speak about the specific topic. So I said, yes, I'm doing it.
nice.
But I don't know how it's going to come out, but I'm still doing it.
Well, good for you. Like, yeah, that's amazing.
Hmm.
So let's dream a little. What's a possibility you're excited about right now?
Besides the book coming out, because that's been taking forever, I'm excited about that. But I would say like a possibility that I would love, love, love is to create a retreat for women around the concept of passion, purpose, and possibilities. I do have two things I want to tie into it, but I'm not really ready to share that yet because I don't want somebody to take my idea. Uh, but
Nice.
hopefully, like I'm giving myself like a 2 year time frame to put it together.
Oh, look at you, just still coming up with amazing things. Like possibilities, are limitless.
Yeah, yeah. I also just asked my son, my oldest son, if he wanted to go to South Korea with me.
Okay.
Yeah, because he's been there, right? And I don't
Nice.
travel by myself. One of my fears is traveling to places like that by myself, but I really have this desire to go, and I think it would be a good like mom-son trip.
Okay. Yeah, that would be awesome. That's
Hmm.
yeah. Okay. So, like how do people, how do listeners one message you today or get a hold of you and share a little bit about that book that's coming out. Sorry we didn't really talk about that too much.
That's okay. Um, well, I'm on all social media. On Instagram, it's Passion, Purpose, Possibilities. On Facebook, it's Candice Snyder, and I also have a community page for the podcast on Facebook, and I'm on LinkedIn. And yeah, as far as the book is going to come out on, well, it's scheduled to come out September 30th, so just a couple weeks, and it's 21 women authors sharing their story of finding purpose. And it will also be on the New York Times billboard in November.
Wow. So it's a bunch of women that you've got together to tell their stories about passion and their
Passion,
purpose.
purpose, and possibility. Yep.
That's
Finding their
awesome.
path to purpose.
I'll have to get that book.
I'll send you one.
Yeah, I'd love to read it.
Okay.
Definitely right up my lane. So yeah, thank you for showing up as and gracing us with your presence on this podcast, on my podcast, and I'm looking forward to, seeing more of you.
Well, thank you. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, Ron. You know that.
I appreciate it, though.
Thanks for
Thank you.
having me. Thank you.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Wow. What a powerful conversation. Candace's story is proof that purpose doesn't come from having a perfect life. It comes from choosing to rise again, to speak up, and to keep going when everyone and everything says stop. If you've felt moved by this episode, I highly encourage you to check out her podcast, Passion, Purpose, and Possibilities, where she continues to share real, raw stories that uplift and inspire. I recently had the honor of being a guest on Candice's show, and it was one of the most meaningful conversations I've had. Go give it a listen. I promise you won't regret it. And hey, before you go, I've got that little something for you. If you've ever struggled with what to say when meeting someone new, if eye contact makes you freeze up, or you just want to show up with more confidence in any room, I've created a video just for you called Master the Moment, Becoming Magnetic in Every Introduction. It's the guide I wish I had when I started out, and it's my gift to you. You can find it on youradhdguy.com. That's youradhdguy.com. You'll also find the link in the show notes. Grab it, watch it, start showing up as the real you, calm, grounded, and unforgettable. I believe in you. I know you can do this. Until next time, remember, you don't need permission to begin again. You already have everything you need inside of you. Take care, and as always, subscribe, and may the source be with you. Hallelujah.